wrap our brains around. To that end, I wanted to get with Senator Mark Wayne Mullin, Republican of the great state of Oklahoma. Mark, how are you? It's Mark Wayne, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. I mean, I'm kind of sitting back and seeing the events over the weekend, and you just go, "Wow." I'm not the best Christian in the world. There's a lot better guys out there than I am because I tell everybody I'm one sinner away from being exposed as a hypocrite. I am, but Charlie Kirk was a great Christian, right? And
Yes.
to see what has happened over the weekend, to see the evil that try to silence his voice, and seeing the Lord take it and expand it in ways that are just unheard of, it actually brings a little joy to my heart, man. I got to tell you.
He had no idea he had this kind of impact, and he was humble enough. I mean, he knew that he had some power, and he knew that he had a lot of traction, and that a lot of people were learning from him, but he never, ever assumed that this is the kind of impact he had. But Mark Wayne, when I saw South Korea celebrating and memorializing Charlie Kirk, and London doing the same thing, when I see that it went from 1,900 chapters to now, Sam just checked this out, the number's now 37,000 new applications for TPUSA chapters.
That's right.
This is a revolution, certainly a movement, but I think it's a revolution. You agree?
Yeah, my mom, who has texted me a total, Joe, of maybe 5 times since texting was invented,
Okay.
it sent me a text, a long text, which I'm not. If you send me a text and I got to scroll up on it, I'm calling you. But it was my mom, so I read it all, and I'll
Right.
paraphrase what she said. She said, "Listen, Mark, I know you and Charlie were friends, and I know you're hurting a little." She said, "But his spirit must have known that he had a short time because at 31 he accomplished so many great things that the vice president of the United States canceled an entire day, flew down and received his remains and loaded his remains into Air Force Two,
Yeah.
and with his family. You had the president of the United States on September 10th, who stopped everything he was doing and addressed the nation, which means he addressed the world from the Oval Office. She said, "Not in my lifetime," and she was here for JFK,
Yeah.
that I've seen this, and by the way, and Martin Luther King, have I seen such an outpouring of support around the world. She says, but there's one guy that made an impact about equal, and we'll see where this goes, is a guy the similar age that they try to silence his voice, and he had only 12 disciples, and his gospel spread around the world. And I thought, wow, Mom, um, that's pretty powerful, because Charlie said he wanted to be known as a Christian,
Yeah.
as a faithful Christian more than anything else. And he said that in his own words. And to see the movement, the outpouring of support. I mean, 3 million people in Korea, 1 million people in London, all around the world. And you said this in your opening statement too. And plus, we saw the VP who I was there with today while he was doing the show from his office, talk about the difference between the two parties. And I'm not trying to draw a division here, but there's true differences here. When you killed one of our political heroes, who wasn't making laws, who was using words, who gave a voice for others to actually debate him in their own backyard, literally their own backyard, wasn't condescending, he wasn't hateful to him, he truly showed love from the Spirit of the Lord that was on him. You saw this from him, and they try to silence him because he was a threat, right? But you didn't see his supporters going out and burning down cities and smashing in windows.
No.
You saw prayer vigils that took place all over the world, not the country, all over the world. And like you said, Turning Point USA, who had, you said 1,900. I thought they had 9,000 chapters, but you're
Okay.
probably right, and I'm wrong. But either way, 37,000 chapters around the world are
They want
now
to become
wanting
part
to
of
be
it.
part
Yeah.
of Turning Point USA. And I talked to Andrew earlier today. Andrew's his producer of his show, Charlie Kirk show, and he said it was just a few weeks ago that Charlie said that he wanted to be on every high school campus in the country with the Turning Point USA chapter. And there's only 23,000 chapter or campuses around the country for high schools, and now he has 30,000 requests around the world. He went bigger than his even what he had dreamed of.
Again, he didn't realize that it would be this big, but he wanted to make it as big as possible. When I first met him on my show, I think he was 23, maybe 22. I know that he was getting in people's ears when he was 18 years old. What he accomplished in 31 years, Mark Wayne, is unbelievable. When I was 31, I didn't realize I was an adult yet. This guy accomplished so much and had such an impact. What do you think happens now? You missed my open of the actual show, but you heard what I opened this interview with.
Right.
But my open of the show was very simple. The dividers in this country did this. I know one bad guy did it, and he's responsible, and I hope he gets the death penalty. I get that. But when you divide the country, when you're Barack Obama and come into office just a few years after 9/11, where we were galvanized as Americans, we didn't care who we were, where we were from. We loved each other because of what just happened to us. We were attacked as a nation. When you try to convince people that we're not exceptional, when you try to say blacks hate whites, who hate Mexicans, who hate Asians, who hate gays, who hate straights, I mean, you say everybody hates everybody, people start to believe that, and it foments in their minds. Do we have a chance through this? I think the answer is yes, but I want to ask you, to bring everybody back together as we see these prayer vigils and we see people lighting candles and not buildings, as you said?
Absolutely. I think what is sparked here is Gen Z is going to take the lead in this. The generation that Charlie Kirk was trying to reach is now going to be the one that carries his legacy on, and you're going to see a change in 5 years, 10 years, but we're really going to see the change in 20 years.
Yeah.
Because in 20 years, those individuals are going to be with families, they're going to be self-employed, they're going to be the new leaders, they're going to be the ones in Congress, they're going to be the ones on TV, they're going to be the influencers that's going to be making the huge difference, not influence on social media, but influence in making the laws and making decisions around the world. I think without a question that this is a turning point, and the irony of that is he named his company Turning Point USA.
Yes.
This is truly the turning point for the country, because those that now were speaking this hateful rhetoric, those who came out and started saying the most awful and divided stuff right after he was assassinated, those individuals now are being held accountable. Those are the same people that tried to silence all those that might have an opposing view, no matter what your point was. If you didn't
Yes.
agree with them, you were silenced. Now those individuals are being silenced. And the campuses to which they were too afraid to stand up for their beliefs, the professors that were in the rooms that were spewing this garbage to the young people, now are starting to be held accountable. And they're saying enough is enough. So you're going to have young people taking their campuses back. You're going to see young people pouring out their love for the Lord. You're going to see politicians that are going to be bold about speaking up, and you're going to see individuals not like you, Joe. Boldness has never been your issue.
Hasn't been an issue.
But you're
No.
going to see others. Yeah, you're going to see others though that have kind of tried to toe that line, now that are going to be calling right from wrong. And that's all we want in this society. Call the strikes and call the balls. But don't sit there and try to play patty cake with untruths. It's either right or it's wrong.
Well, my fear initially, and it's Senator Mark Wayne Mullin, great state of Oklahoma, and I appreciate the time between votes. I know that you ran in to do this with us. The fear I had in the beginning, after the initial anguish, grief, and stunned expression, was that people would now be afraid to speak out. But you just alluded to this. Gen Z is out there en masse. I think Generation X is waking up. I think that millennials are sort of in between, not really sure what to do. But did you have the fear that I had, and I've only got about a minute left, and I appreciate the time. Did you have the fear that I had, that people would be forced into shutting up for fear that they would be attacked or killed?
I did for a little bit until the president addressed it, and the president
Yeah.
addressed it on Fox and Friends, and he said, we have to move forward. You know, when he sat down on Fox and Friends for an hour Friday morning, and just said, when they asked him about that, he says, no, we have to move forward. At that was all everybody needed to do. That was about the same. That was not the equivalent, but that was equivalent almost to the president when, after he got shot in the ear,
Yeah.
and the assassination attempt, when he stood up and said, fight, fight, fight.
Right.
Everybody's heart was concerned by that, and they used an example that people were canceling outdoor events and all this, and he's like, no, absolutely not. We have to move forward. Full stop.
Follow him everywhere. Mark Wayne Mullin. He's an incredible senator for the great state of Oklahoma. We've got to get together for that workout. Thanks for your reflection
Yes,
on
sir.
Charlie Kirk and his life. And thank you for coming on today in short notice. Thank you, Mark Wayne.